What's up, everyone? Danny here, Mullins Raw Fitness. Got a good topic today. I get asked this a lot when we're talking about nutrition, talking about food, how we should eat, and I get a question: breakfast or no breakfast? And there's a lot of reasons we talk about this, and I'll go kind of a little deeper into different questions that I get asked with that. So, first, as you can see, I wrote under it. Well, the actual word breakfast is actually breaking fast. You're actually breaking a fast. If you slept for 8 hours, your last meal was at 8 or 7 o'clock at night, you wake up at 7 in the morning, that's a 12-hour fast, and then however long it takes you to eat. So you don't always want to go that long a period all the time without eating. So now I will say there is some good research on intermittent fasting. I won't talk about that here. I've had some success with that. I don't always do it. Sometimes I do. But it's basically where you cram all your food into about an 8-hour period or so, but you're still having a breakfast. The breakfast might just start a little bit later. So, so looking at that, you're still breaking a fast, no matter what you're doing. You want to break a fast, and regardless, you don't want to, not eat all the time. Your metabolism really slow down, and when you break a fast, your metabolism, because of cortisol, which is highest between 6 and 9 a.m., which we've talked about in other videos, it kind of revs the metabolism up, gets you ready to start your day, and it's anxious for nutrients in the cells. So it's very, very important to make sure you get the body nutrients, in the morning. So the answer is yes, I would recommend to have breakfast. Now, looking at it, how much should I have? Especially women that want to improve their metabolic weight, but this is just as true for guys. You should get about 25% of your daily calories. Now, those of you that know me know I'm not a calorie counting guy, but just to put it into a quantitative numbers that you can kind of see and visualize, about a quarter of the food you eat in a day should come from your breakfast. That's when your body will metabolize it the most. That's when your body will utilize it, and what will happen is what I've seen, your body will have more energy throughout the day. You'll be able to be more active, be able to function properly, and you'll be much closer to reaching your goals. And you'll see people that tend to eat bigger breakfasts and smaller dinners tend to have a much better figure and much better shape that they're looking for, as opposed to small breakfast, small lunch, maybe a little bit of this, and then smash for dinner because they're starving by then, which jacks up your hormones, which we've talked many times why that is a bad thing. So what type of food should I have for breakfast? I always hear, should I have oatmeal? Should I have this? Well, I always recommend you always want to have a protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Okay? Now, it depends on the ratios, on what your metabolic needs are and what your stress levels are like. Those that are polar types, you're going to want much more fats and proteins, and maybe a little bit, maybe a 2/3 to 1/3 ratio of a lower glycemic, usually, carbohydrate. So something I do is I do eggs with a good quality, maybe turkey bacon or pork bacon, and I'll have a little bit of peppers cut up with it that I eat, or spinach or something like that, to start my day. And it's a smaller portion of peppers compared to the bacon and a little bit of eggs. Now, if you're I'll go over that next. So you always want to be in line with your primal pattern. If you don't know what it is, if you haven't taken my test, you can take it at ppssuccess.com. That's ppssuccess.com. It has a free one, I believe, that you can take online to find out what your ratio should be. And again, your ratios can adjust day to day, meal to meal, depending on what's going on in your life. Your stress could really elevate your needs for proteins, for instance. Okay, so now what if I'm not hungry? I hear this a lot, and there's a lot of different things for this that we could spend a whole long video on that. First, you want to do is look at your root cause. Why are you not hungry? More times than not, you're not just not hungry because you're not hungry. One thing we can look at is, what is your stress levels like? Are you an introvert? A lot of introverts will tend to have lower blood pressure, lower heart rates, and they'll associate stress with not eating. Unlike an extrovert that will, if you're an extrovert and you get stressed, you'll probably run to food, and you'll probably have a tendency to have higher blood pressure, higher heart rate. So that's something to look at. Are you stressed? Are you an introvert? Poor sleep habits, as we talked about with melatonin and cortisol. Cortisol it's revving you up. It's ready to go. It's ready to metabolize some energy. If you have like a melatonin hangover, or you are you're eating late at night and staying up late, or sleeping with the TV on, so your body's constantly producing stress hormones. You're not getting adequate amount of recovery time or recovery hormones like melatonin throughout the night. From 10 to 2, your body goes through the physical repair process, and if you're not giving your organs time to rest and relax and not go through all this work, you could be sitting all night with food in your stomach that it's not being digested because your body's ready to rest, instead of digest more food, which is causing more stress in the body. So you may be waking up feeling really unrested because you're sitting with a bunch of food in your stomach, and you already have food in your stomach, so your body's not feeling very hungry. Okay, so that's something to really look at. Are you stimulating yourself? Are you waking up, first thing you do is, oh, give me my coffee? And you're kind of stimulating your nervous system and saying, hey, I don't need food. I'm already getting some type of energy source and stimulation, and that can really hinder your ability to really tell if you really are hungry or not. So pay attention to that. And then, are you a carbohydrate type? Like we talked about our primal pattern. Those that are carbohydrate types, equatorials, that require a lot more carbohydrates in their diet compared to proteins and fats. You'll have a tendency, especially if you're what's called in William Wolcott's book, Metabolic Typing. If you're sympathetic dominant, you can have a tendency to not really want breakfast, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. But you may not need it. I would still recommend to maybe have a light breakfast, maybe a smaller breakfast, and still have proteins, fats, and carbs, but just have a little bit more carbohydrates for your breakfast. So looking at that, we look at what are the problems if we don't have breakfast. Well, the first thing we'll look at is and this is a good book here. I have it here for you. Deborah Waterhouse's Outsmarting the Female Fat Cell. Guys will get some benefit from this too. It's a great book. But what I would say is she has a little diagram that talks about the fat cell and your lipogenic and your lipolytic. Your lipogenic being fat storing hormones. When you skip meals and you continually to skip meals, or you skip breakfast all the time, you have a tendency to have more lipogenic hormones that are storing fat, okay? And you'll have less lipolytic hormones that are burning fat or releasing fat. So that's a big reason why you definitely want to have your breakfast, especially if you're a variable or polar type. So that's something definitely you want to look into play. And now for those that have heard, oh, well, Danny, I've heard you fast. You talk about fasting. I fast maybe once a month. And what I am actually doing, like we talked about here in the poor sleep habit, is that what I'm really doing is I'm giving my body a break, letting my body relax, and not having to have my internal organs work so hard all the time. So I'm giving it a rest, a relaxation, almost like a vacation. And when I do that, I'll have certain teas or a lot of water and stuff like that to still, or sometimes a little bit of juice, like a very, very small juice. And I'll drink this healthy fasting tea, Yogi healthy fasting tea, and that really helps me throughout. And I'll usually have dinner and then not eat till the next dinner. So hope that helps, guys. Danny here. Talk to you soon.